Good morning, sisters. We had a little bit of a technical issue there, but yeah, I'm just going to start off by saying I'm so grateful and honored to have my very dear sister Melissa here, even though it says Amanda Thomas on the thread. It is Melissa. We just had some technical difficulties, and I'm just going to go right ahead and allow Melissa to introduce herself. So welcome, Melissa. If you could just introduce yourself to our guest today.
Thank you so much, Tish. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. So yes, I also live here in Costa Rica, and I have spent the last few years. I started off in the pleasure tribe, and my whole journey that started about 3-4 years ago, I've come to this point where I feel my gift to the world and to women is to really, really support them coming into their pleasure, really coming into their bodies and coming into the state that we are born with, which is absolute pleasure. And for me, that's actually such a strong line of health. So it's finding health through pleasure, finding your vibrancy of life through pleasure, and really living a life in orgasmic bliss and an orgasmic state of pleasure.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I think we're just going to dive straight into our conversation today, and let's talk a little bit about a woman's radiance and how that is her biggest gift.
So yes, when a woman is really in her inner radiance, and when she's really expressing who she is as a woman, which is within her softness, within her aliveness. When I say that this is her biggest gift to the world, it's like, how do we feel when we see someone that is so alive, that's really happy, who's in their softness? We want to be next to them. We want to be with them. And we also want to be in that state. So when a woman, whether she's a mother, a sister, even, as a work colleague, when she's really in her bliss and in her radiance, her gift as herself really gets to shine. And women who are fully in their radiance are really coming from the intuition. So a woman's, work on the planet is through nurturing and through her intuition. And we have such a power source in our womb. So a woman who is living her radiance is actually really coming from her womb space. And her womb space is her strength, her absolute strength. It's her intuition. It's her grounding. It's how we connect to Mother Earth below, and also to how we connect with everything that's happening above us with, as we conduit, as women, we're conduits between, the universe energy and through the Mother Earth energy. And so when we come from our womb space, our intuition, that is our radiance, which is really looking after ourselves in what we love to do, not what we have to do.
Yes, definitely. I want to just talk a little bit about this too. It's something that came up for me, and we're on this topic of just empowerment through pleasure, which is, for me, in a very long time in my life, I had so much shame around my sexuality, and the way that I was raised in the conformity of my religion, that I believed that being sensual and sexual and expressing myself and really tapping into that radiance was a bad thing, right? And it was almost kind of scary when the wild woman was coming out of me. So, what do you suggest, or how can we reframe our minds around this? How can we walk a path of really embracing and calling in? Is there anything that you can share in terms of like a tool that our women can tap into in order for them to really fully express this radiance that wants to come out, without all of these conditionings?
So my first thing that I always speak to, because I get this question a lot, and the first thing I would do is really cultivate a relationship with your breasts. And I know this is on our list, so we can step into this next point around breast massage. So a woman's relationship with the world is quite, indicative to our relationship with our breasts. So when we look at that whole stage we go through as teenagers and our breasts start growing, what are all the feelings that happen during that time? There's shame, there's nervousness, there's wanting to hide, there's, some girls' breasts grow a lot larger, some don't. And so our whole world becomes encapsulated on where we are in the stages of our breasts. Also the way that women's bodies gets used through advertising, how you know, I think we've all had that experience when a man's talking to us, he's talking to our breast, not to our eyes. And so often our relationship with our breast is one that is of shame. It's one that we're trying to hide. The amount, you know, we're either putting oranges into our into our t-shirts to make them bigger, or we're getting stuff to flatten. And so to cultivate a relationship with the world and where we feel comfortable, I would always start with our breast. So every single morning, for me, like even before I fully wake, even before I get out of bed sometimes, it's like you bring your hands to your chest. You know, there's all the different beautiful meditations we can do, connecting your heart to your yoni, connecting your heart to your womb. And because the heart lays right behind our breastplate, you know, every time we touch our heart, we're also touching our breast tissue. And so there's, you know, to begin your day with breast massage. I mean, our lymphatic, our lymphatics can be really, really stimulated and detoxifying through breast massage. And because breasts are made up of fatty tissue, there's so many toxins that we actually also hold as women in our breasts. So to actually massage our breasts every single day changes the relationship physically through better health. And also, as we cultivate a relationship with our breasts and we become to really love our breasts, then also our confidence into the world also changes, and we become more. We also become more confident in who we are as a woman, because as we change our relationship with this part of ourselves, which is sitting in front of our heart, we can also become more confident. We become softer with the world, and we cultivate this relationship as who we are as a woman in the world. And for me, I think that really starts with our breasts. So.
Beautiful. You know, there was like an old myth that I grew up with. And my mom would always say, don't let a man massage or touch your breast. They're going to become soggy and start hanging, you know. And so I really had to just break through all of these conditioned thinkings and patterns of myself. And really what helped me was when I started syncing my cycle with the moon and learning more about my femininity. And just being fully present and aware within my breast and feeling if there was any lumps. I only then discovered, like, pleasuring myself through my breast, how heart-opening that was. And, so maybe even after today's call, we can share a link with women about a beautiful breast massage meditation. Because, for us to get used to really feeling into it, and because there's a lot of feelings, at least for me, that comes up when I do a breast massage, and it really opens my heart. So perhaps we can share with the women, if you have a meditation or something like that can really help us break through that.
Yeah, I do. And I've also, I have a video on a breast massage that I do. So that would be really beautiful. I'd love to do that. Get into that, yeah. And also too, we can change the shape of as we change the relationship, we can also change the shape of our breasts. I mean, it's, really to hear what
amazing. I'm so excited.
I mean, my breasts have grown. I mean, I have a child and I breastfed, and I've actually been able to change the shape and bring my breasts up a little more, and they've gotten bigger since I've changed my relationship. They're like, woohoo, you love us and we love you, and we're coming out. It's so gorgeous.
Yes. Beautiful. I love that. I love how we are able to change our, not only on mental, but also on physical health, like self-care and self-love. So the next thing we want to talk about is the female orgasm. Exciting to something I really allow myself for, so about that.
Sorry, darling, your connection seems to is dropping out a bit. What was the next question? Are we talking about orgasm for health?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
So, I mean, number one, when we have an orgasm, what's the hormone that gets released is oxytocin. And when we have more oxytocin released in our body, of course, we have better health. I've actually was writing some notes down because I know when I get nervous, I can't, get things straight off my head. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read this list.
Not at all. Please do.
Okay. So, when we have orgasms, it's improving our circulation because it's allowing the blood to move more freely through through our bodies, and especially into our pelvic cavity, which often, especially as we live a life that's quite sedentary, we also have a culture that sits on the toilet. We don't squat. So we're actually not opening up our whole pelvic area. So as a woman who's consciously using orgasm as health, she's also increasing and improving all of the circulatory motion within her pelvic area, which means more nutrients are getting run through your body and into your pelvic area. And it's also, orgasm actually helps you regulate your menstrual cycle, which I'm sure. Orgasms energize your hypothalamus, and it involves a sense of wellness, and it also increases your fertility. So when we're happy and we're well, we're also healthier within our own bodies. It also helps to regulate our pituitary gland. Orgasms, they actually provide an overall lymphatic massage, especially here in our sacral area. Orgasms promote healthy estrogen levels to keep vaginal tissue supple and protect against osteoporosis. So, it's an overall, like when you look at a woman's body and everything that we seem to, like so many women that we take as normal health issues, we actually have, there's that saying that we have everything that we need inside of us. So on a spiritual level, we can also look at that as a physical level. So when we have this action of orgasm, that's actually designed to keep us healthy. It's designed to keep blood flowing, hormones flowing. It's designed to, help regulate our pituitary gland. It's designed to keep our lymphatic system moving. So we have this as an action within inside of us. Orgasm also spikes DHEA levels in the body. And this is the hormone that improves brain function, and it also promotes healthy skin. So someone that's orgasm quite often, it also looks younger. And so there's this, in a lot of the reports that you read, what I find really interesting, so many people write about that if you as a woman have sexual intercourse with your partner 3 times a week, you will look younger about 10 years. And for me, but for me, it's like this, in society, we're also talking about what action can we do with someone else. And so this is where my work, where I'm really wanting to bring to so many women that with or without a partner, when you take full responsibility for your own sexual health, when you are self-pleasuring and you're bringing orgasm in as, a factor of health for yourself, it's not, we're not depending on a partner. We're not depending with how is our sex life with someone else, with our partner, without. We're taking full responsibility in our own pleasure. And so pleasuring as a practice, as we do yoga, as we eat and drink really well, using orgasm and self-pleasure as a health practice to me is something I think is really, really important.
I love that. This is something that really is very new to me. I only started exploring it this year, is a lot of self-pleasuring, but not to a state to just release, but to generate that energy into the body and move to have that radiance that we were talking about in the beginning, right? And I also feel that for me, it was a really new way what self-pleasuring really is and what self really is. And I think that, most of us think, oh, orgasm, I just have to go down 3 minutes. If you know your body well, you know exactly what to do. And it's like, boom, explosive, and there you go. But there's so much more to really tapping into that self-pleasure of moving and activating this energy that is within us. And what I just wanted to add as well, besides all the facts and all of the beautiful things that is in terms of health-wise for receiving or getting an orgasm, is also the fact that it is a release, in your second chakra. So if there is that's wanting to move through, that is a great way. I myself never thought of myself as someone being creative and so on and so forth, and this has really allowed me to tap in my creative energy. And so I just really love that. I love that you can actually open and balance the chakra by stimulating this sexual energy that is latent and that is within us.
And your orgasm used as stress relief, is one of the oldest things that I've, that we learn about is like, it's such a great stress release. And there's one other thing I want to mention too, is like the migraines. I mean, so many people.
Yeah.
And if someone who suffers a lot from migraines, when you feel the migraine rising in your body, you feel it coming up in your head, to go and have an orgasm actually opens up all of the blood vessels and actually reverses the contraction that's happening, that's containing the migraine. So,
and you know what? I've done that before, and I can confirm that it works, because I used to suffer from migraines, intense migraines, and I was young when I read this, and now thinking back, I don't get migraines anymore. I did, and I actually used it, and it definitely worked. So the next subject we want to touch on is, orgasm and manifestation. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So as you were just talking about how, rising their energy and how it opens up your creative flow. One thing how I was raised with a Christian background, the one thing that was always made really, really certain was that orgasmic energy and God energy were completely separate. One's black and one's white. God energy is this religious and spiritual concept, where orgasm energy is completely not to be talked about, and it's dirty, and it's, on the opposite end of the spectrum. The one thing that I've really learned is that God energy and the orgasmic energy is a complete and utter one. It's a connection. So when you're in the state of orgasm, you're actually connecting to God energy, which is universal energy. And when you're using your orgasmic state with a specific intention, you are opening up your intention to the universe and to godlike energy in such a strong force. And it's a really good tool to actually use as a couple. So, let's just use the examples of, like, you have a couple, you would like to have a baby, you'd like to have a house, you want to go on a trip together, all of this. So you would then create a sacred space. You would have the intention. You would use your tools and your practices that you have with each other to rise yourself into an orgasmic state. And it doesn't mean you have to have an orgasm. As you know, it's like when we talk about orgasms from the state of 1 to 10, and 10 is when you are releasing your orgasm, you can get up to a state of around 7 to 8 and really hold and cultivate that energy through birth. And in that moment that you're up in 8, 9, and even when you're releasing into orgasm together, you state out loud to the universe and to God what you want. And so it's such a powerful tool as a partnership. It's such a powerful tool as yourself, as a woman, when you're wanting things in your life that are really, really integral for you. Then you use this energy, like you have an altar, you set up sacred space, and through the whole time that you're self-pleasuring and using your practices to bring yourself to orgasm, you're also thinking and saying out loud what you're wanting to bring into your life. And so if you choose to orgasm, you choose to have you release it up into the universe with your orgasm and with your intention. And it's very, very powerful.
Yes, I love that. I have some friends here in Costa Rica who actually, they work as a couple, Tom and his wife. And what they've explained to me is, when we come to that state of orgasm and we are so open, that we can actually repattern programming. And if there was any heavy trauma or anything that needs to be released, that you can tap into that state where the release is, and you can set. So I love that. I myself haven't done the partnership with the manifestation, which I'm totally down to try. And just another thing I kind of wanted to share, is when we set a sacred space, and even if we're by ourselves, we don't always have to have a partner. Just really one thing that I learned for myself is becoming sensual again. We are so decentralized, and I feel like just allowing yourself, and how do you do that, is literally like feeling your body, moving the energy, like massaging yourself with oil, move into your body, whatever wants to come out, just to come into that space. Because it's not about just going down and get to a climax. It's about moving and setting that sensual space, rising the energy up, and then have the release and setting the intention for the manifestation, even if you're by yourself or with a partner. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
So then lastly, I wanted us to just drop in and talk a little bit about honoring our blood for our health and our pleasure. be devoted to. I know that this is part of my working on this planet, is to spread the word and spread the, this ritual of really giving back our blood to the earth. There's a prophecy that says when there is going to be more women offering their blood back to the earth, then sure there will be peace again on earth. And so this is something that I encourage all women to do. And I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more onto how we can honor our blood and for our health.
Yes, it's also one of my most favorite subjects as yours, Tish. So I would even like to take that saying a little bit further. I've in the last year started drinking my blood and using it. Yeah. And so I have this saying that if men, let's push a few buttons here, if more men were involved in the ritualistic drinking of their partner of women's blood, then we also could not have war on this planet. So once we are looking at the sacredness of a woman's blood, and if we go thousands of years back in history, when we look at how many cultures, like the Maori culture, cultures in Asia, Tibetan cultures, when they actually talk about how man comes onto the earth, they always talk about blood and earth. So they're actually talking about the blood of the woman from her womb, and they're talking about the womb space. The man comes from the blood. And when we look at the construct of blood, we look at the woman's menstruation blood is full of stem cells. That is in the United States. And what I find really interesting is that ourselves as a culture, we're still in this state where we are ashamed of our menstruation. We are shamed by it. We're using products with chemicals that actually give us cancer. We're hiding it. We're also taking drugs so that we stop our flow so it doesn't happen. And then on the other side, like a lot of these studies, maybe not so, I don't know about so much now, but when I first started researching, a lot of the studies in India, Russia, and one part of Asia, I can't quite remember, they were kind of hidden studies, but all of these men were using the properties of menstruation blood, their stem cells, to reverse aging, to change the color of their hair from gray back to dark. Men were using like their energy levels, they were running again, they were being really unfit, and they were also feeling state of ecstatic, of like being reborn. So we as women in a culture are so ashamed of our blood, and here we have on the other side science, which is a very masculine world, using the woman's blood to feel amazing, to be younger. So for me, really the act of drinking our blood and the act of using our blood on the land, and also to really honor, whether it can be your whole menstruation, I really encourage women, even if they can do it just for one day, their first day of bleeding, where they do nothing. They don't take care of anyone. They actually don't go to work. They stay and they nurture themselves. And for every woman, nurturing themselves is really different. I mean, I'm very, very blessed that I live in the jungle. And so my first day of my menstruation is spent on the land. I give all of my nations back to the land. My first bleed, I put in water, like even just to put in water with lemon juice, like drinking our blood at first, to think of it sounds like that's just way too much. But if you put it in water with lemon juice, look, when I sit around the table, a lot of my friends, we talk about smoothies and all of that stuff today. We don't have to go that far. But it can just be the energetics of, it can even just be a drop of blood. Like, I'm not saying like drink your whole release that's that morning. It's like even having a few drops of blood in water that you can't even taste it. And it's taking in that energy and using, a sacred moment, creating a container around yourself and giving back to yourself. I mean, we have urination therapy for cancer. We have so many things around what comes out of our body. Our blood is no different, and yet our blood is one of the most powerful fluids that comes out of our bodies. It grows human life. And so when we're releasing something that grows human life, the potential, I mean, we've talked about this, like how it grows plants, and your garden changes, the earth changes when we give our blood back to Mother Earth. And so when we're also changing that relationship, changing from shame into absolute honor, we're also changing who we are as women and who we let into our lives and who we allow to ourselves to have relationship with. So when we change our relationship with our blood, when we change our relationship with our orgasm, we're completely changing who we are as women in the world, which can only be a better thing. When you take away shame, when you take away our less than, when you take away who we are, feeling that we're not enough, to coming, I am absolutely, completely whole as who I am. We also make better choices who we have around us. And that also teaches those around us to also change their relationship. It's just like this ripple effect in the pond. So orgasm and blood, I think, are the core ways each woman can really come into their radiance and really find who they are and thrive. Not only radiate, but thrive in the world.
Beautiful. I love that. So, just to go back a little bit about drinking the blood in your way. So do you actually mix water with it and lemon and then you take it in, or what is like the easiest way for us to do that? And also, do you actually sit with it with intention and drink it, or like what is your procedure? Explain to us a little more, because I mean, like, for someone who's hearing this the first time, it's scary. It's like, what are you talking about? And so I get it, and I'm there, and I'm actually feeling very called to drink my cycle, which should come today on the full moon. I'm really excited to, and I've been feeling her speaking through me. And so I'm really like just moving through this resistance of like this conditioning of what it is like. So maybe share with us a little bit, what is the process? Do you thin it out and then do you do a little ceremony? Is there anything that you ask in return? What does that feel like?
So for me, I do dilute it in water. Just lately, because I'm drinking more blood than I was a few months ago, that I'm using lemon because I'm still getting used to the taste, because blood has a metallic taste. So generally what happens when my flow first starts, I collect the very first part of my flow. So I don't drink my blood every single day. For me at the moment, all I'm doing is drinking the very first part of my flow, which is, the beginning of my bleeding. And I take that in with absolute gratitude. I just do my prayer. Like actually the very first time that I drank my blood, I was with another girlfriend and both our children. I drank our blood, and that night everyone got really, really sick. Like all three of them, the two children and the other lady. And I didn't fall sick. And so for me, it was, this was the first time I decided to drink my blood, and I had this, example straight away of the health benefits of drinking blood. So it increases your immune system. So you just really find your own. If you use a menstrual cup, it's really easy. You just pour some of your blood out of the menstrual cup in water and dilute it to where you're comfortable. And if it is really shocking and it's something that this is going to take a while, or there's, I don't think I could ever be comfortable drinking, especially seeing red, like seeing blood in a glass, just use a drop, like use a homeopathic dose, a drop of blood in a glass of water. At the very beginning, I wasn't using lemon. As I said, I'm just increasing the amount of blood I'm drinking. I just want to see where that takes me. And then for the rest of the time, if I, because I'm only drinking on my first flow, beginning of the flow, I use the other blood outside and I do ceremony around it, and always giving prayer and always feeling where it wants to go. And as with anything, it's like whenever we're drinking our first glass of water in the morning, putting intention into the water, and that's where you're at that time, on your day. So,
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Once you've done it once, it's really.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely feeling the call and the pull, especially with just everything that's happening in this cycle. I'm just. So she's coming, and I'm just really, so this came at such a beautiful time. Thank you so much for sharing, Melissa, and for being vulnerable and sharing your truth and everything that you do and showing us the way. I'm so honored to have you on this call with us today and sharing all of this beautiful information with all of us sisters. I think I'm gonna close it off here. I would love for Melissa. She offers online trainings and workshops here in Costa Rica. And where can people find you, Melissa?
So I have a Facebook page called Empowerment Through Pleasure, and that's also that's a website that I'm just getting up. But through Empowerment Through Pleasure, I've just released this morning actually my next 3 3-week online self-pleasure program. It's actually a pleasure journey, because amongst that journey, we go through drinking blood. We go through all of these different rituals and different meditations and connecting our yoni space with our heart space and lots of things. Like we do mandalas and paintings, etc. So it's a whole journey over 3 weeks, and that all gets done through email. So on Facebook, Empowerment Through Pleasure is actually the really best way at this point to find me and to get all of that information. And every day I send out, little sayings and little things to help you step further into your empowerment, into your pleasure. So and so what I can do is later put that link on your Facebook page too.
Beautiful. Yes, I posted in the thread for women to see. I also just wanted to share with you, if those of you into really discovering your sacred self and to stepping in your own power, I'm collaborating with 2 dear sisters of mine, Zaracita and Maria, on a retreat that we are hosting here in Costa Rica in December. If you are interested in wanting to find out a little bit more, we are going to dive deep into all of these topics, from blood, yoni steams, how to, sync your cycle with the moon, what archetypes we embody during things that we're going to be tapping into, from hormonal balancing to what yoga to do at a specific time. And if you feel called, then just send me a message and I'll send you the link for all of the information. We still have an early bird special until the end of August. And it'd be really, really great if you wanted to join us, for those of you who feel. And for those of you also, I have a little free ebook that's on my website if you wanted to download that, where I just also explain to you how you can collect your blood and how. I wanted to go onto my website. I'll post the link on here. You can just sign up for my newsletter and receive that. But Melissa, thank you so much, sister. I am so honored. Thank you for all the work that you again at the market, and drop in a little bit deeper to hear more about your program that you're launching right now. Congratulations. That's really amazing. And thank you again for taking the time with us to be here today.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been so wonderful. And as you know, I love talking about this stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for listening in today. And for those of you who are going to listen, if you have any questions, just drop us a line on the thread and we'll get back to you. Have a beautiful day and a full moon. We love you all. Namaste.
Bye, sweetheart.
So,